a fantastic hour lined up. We're going to be talking about supporting business and young people via mentoring and the Kickstart scheme. Just to give you a sight of the agenda, I'm going to start and talk a tiny bit about setting the scene and a little bit about what we do. We're then going to hear from a fantastic young man, James, who is on the Kickstart programme. I'll then hand over to the Minister, Mims Davies, and after that we'll have some Q&A opportunity for us all to ask Mims some questions. Following that, great employer insight from Ian, who's a partner at KPMG. Then over to Brian, who leads on employer and skills for London and Essex with Job Centre Plus, before a final Q&A and then a wrap up. So let me start. A little bit about us and why we're here today. I founded My Kind of Future about 10 years ago, specifically to support underrepresented people to prepare for work, to get into work, and to do well in work. And right now, that could never be more important. The way we do it is we've developed a mentoring app, a mentoring platform that provides people, especially those underrepresented or disadvantaged, with a tailored array of mentors specifically matched against their needs, who are always available to them over a really sustained period of time to support them through that journey. We've had great success in lots of settings. Results have been fantastic, and that's why I think it can really play and is playing an important part to supporting young people now. And it is a big challenge we're facing. We become slightly blind to the statistics on the news every day, but the fact is 1 in 3 18 to 24-year-olds are either unemployed or have been furloughed. They are twice as badly hit, I guess, as 25 to 35-year-olds have been and are. And of course, we all know those people who start with a disadvantage or disadvantages are even more hard hit. So that stat, 1 in 3 young people, it's just unimaginable if you try and picture it, a line of young people, 1 in 3. And that's why the government has taken a really strong position on doing something about it, leading the way with Kickstart, to provide people with that 6-month job a platform for their future success and career. And that's why we at My Kind of Future have launched our mentoring platform alongside that in job centres to provide those young people with mentors from an array of industries at every step of the way. And we've shown with our mentoring platform that, I guess it's not really rocket science, it's common sense. If you imagine yourself struggling in the jobs market, perhaps without peers or role models, if you are matched with a series of mentors specifically to your needs and your personality type, that is naturally going to increase the chances of your future success. And over the last 4 years, we've found it reduces the dropout rate by 1/3. So a really significant impact. So how are we delivering the mentoring platform alongside Kickstart and supporting job centres and those unemployed 18 to 24-year-olds? Well, what happens is on the ground, the teams who work in job centres and in the community are directing those people onto the platform where they sign up, they log in and register and fill out some information on their interests, perhaps some of their skills and ambitions, the industries or jobs they're interested in future, also some of their personality traits. And at that stage, they're cleverly matched on the platform to a series of industry mentors who come from fantastic firms who are supporting this project. And they are then on hand to support them preparing for that job, but continuing as long as needed, so up to a year or more, in fact, to make sure those young people have the best chance at doing well in Kickstart or an apprenticeship or a future job. Because it's a platform, we track every bit of data. We can see the success rates, the engagement rates, and then the progression onto work. So that is a real strength. Employers have been incredible and are continuing to support this programme in a really significant way. Accenture, Grant Thornton, Cisco, Skanska, Clyde & Co and KPMG, and Ian from KPMG will talk more shortly, are providing both funding, resources and mentors to help us expand from our initial pilot in London to now much more widely in the country. We launched this week in Rochdale and in the coming weeks in Blackpool, Bradford, Wolverhampton, Manchester and many, many more. And I would say employers are signing up at a really rapid rate, probably a new employer every week right now. So why are we getting support from different stakeholders? Well, I guess for employers, what they're telling us, and Ian will tell us a little bit more, is that it's important that they deliver an impact to their communities where they have a footprint, or in those parts of the country that need help the most. And by volunteering through the platform, it's fairly light touch, an hour a month on average, supporting things like CV and work insights. It's not only a benefit for those young people, but actually it's a fantastic development opportunity and volunteering opportunity for those employers. Statistically, over the last 4 years, 97% of mentors who volunteer in year 1 have gone on to volunteer in year 2. And I think that says a great deal about the opportunity. Of course, it aligns with Kickstart for those employers who are focusing on supporting young people in that way. We're also talking to a range now of local authorities and borough councils. And I know on the call today, we've got lots of you with that background. A great example is Bradford, where with the Borough Council, we've agreed to launch on the 12th of June, the platform, whereby people will be directed from job centres, of course, but also from their voluntary and community sector, their local community services, from the FE College and their own employment group called Skills House. Again, to support Kickstart, but really deep in the community, directing those people who need that mentoring support the most. The feedback's great. Don't take my word for it. There's a couple of quotes on the screen, but Ron Wise, who works in a job centre as a work coach, explains that the platform is helping him do his job better. It's offering a support, beyond what he and his team can do every day. And he goes on to say that it complements the Kickstart scheme perfectly. Employer feedback is fantastic. And of course, as employers mentor people into jobs, you can imagine the benefit and how that feels on a personal level, but also on a company-wide or firm level. And the feedback from unemployed people is that Connector is actively helping them get a job. The mentoring is playing a really important part in helping their success. And the Minister, Mims, is a great supporter. And I'm going to pass to her after we've spoken to our next terrific guest, and that is James. Thanks for joining, James. I know that your Kickstart program that you've actually joined is in a school, and for GDPR reasons, can't have your camera on. The good news is we have a fantastic photo of you on the screen now. So James, welcome, and how are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Will. Thank you for having me on this session. It's a great honour to be able to come and speak and share my time within Kickstart. As hopefully I'll be able to explain it in a bit. Without Kickstart, I quite simply wouldn't be where I am today.
That is amazing. That's amazing, yeah. James. Thank you. I've put some questions on the screen. I've no idea if you can see them, but if you're happy to ask you those in turn, that would be great. So I guess first of all, how did you hear about Kickstart?
So I heard about Kickstart around about 6-7 months ago now, just before Christmas. I unfortunately went through a bit of a rough patch in my life, so I used the Universal Credit Services, and within that I had a very good work coach called Zach, who we had very sort of regular meetings with and caught up on the phone quite a lot, and he really was good with tapping in to sort of my interests and things like that. So from quite an early stage is made very aware that education was the path that I really wanted to go down. And it was that actually informed me that there was a trust, so like a collection of schools within my local area who had sort of taken on the Kickstart roles. There was a couple of different ones to choose from, and upon looking at them, I decided that the sort of the wellbeing support role really sort of was me, something that I'd really like to do. So I applied for it. I went for an interview and was lucky enough to get it. So, but initially come from my work coach hearing about Kickstart.
That's amazing, James. And it's fantastic to hear you talk about the work coaches offering that level of support, because as I partner, as we and I speak to the teams there, they are an amazing team. And I know we're going to hear from Brian shortly, but those people on the ground, the work coaches, work tirelessly to support people like you. So it's fantastic to hear that you had such a positive experience. I guess next question I'd love you to briefly tell us about, would you have pursued a job like this, or would you have thought about a job like this if it hadn't been for the help of Kickstart?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and the simple answer really is no, because Kickstart isn't, for me, it's not just sort of employment. For me, it's so much more than that. It's offering invaluable opportunities, you know, from the training that I've received to being able to sort of go out in the field almost as well and study a little bit within this position. Obviously doing the job itself has numerous sort of rewards and benefits, and you know, I've been very lucky that last week I got word from the head teacher at my school that the school would really like to keep me permanently. So
well done.
You know, without, as I said at the beginning, without Kickstart, I simply wouldn't be in that position. But it even goes sort of further than that. And with some of the training within safeguarding and child protection and things like that I've been able to do whilst in this position, it's really going to help me in the future, whatever position, you know, I'm in within education. And it's really helped me almost begin to climb the ladder a little bit, first of all into permanent employment, but also sort of up the ranks within education to get to where I want to be.
Well done, Jay, and congrats on that great news you just shared there. Thoroughly deserved. I know you keep using the word lucky, but listen, you've got to give yourself credit, seriously. On the other side, I mean, we all know, you know, you are bringing a huge benefit to your employer, to that school. What do you think specifically a young person can bring to a business?
So I think a degree of sort of freshness. I think new skills is a big thing. I know I relate it a lot back to education because sort of that's the sector I've gone into, but I think that can be applied to most sectors or any sector. But especially within my position at the moment, it's really, and especially within a secondary school as well, it's really beneficial to be this age, because it's a lot easier for me to put myself in the shoes of those young people in order to help them as most as I can. And I think in different ways you can switch that around and interpret that with any sector, whether it be retail or, you know, or anything else. I think having sort of a fresh pair of eyes and, you know, a fresh head joining and bringing new skills. Everybody has sort of their own skills and their own take on positions and their own qualities, really. So that can be taken in any sector, in my opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And clearly you have lots of energy and enthusiasm, which, you know, all employers value greatly. And the last question, before I hand it over to the Minister, in your role, Wellbeing Support Officer, what's your biggest highlight so far? And I know it's early days, but what's your highlight?
Within the role itself, I guess the best highlight for me and the best compliment that anyone in any kind of role like this could receive is having, you know, parents phone you and email you thanking you for, you know, spending time with their children and just saying that their children really trust you. I think it's really nice to hear that the parents and the students trust me enough to come and open up about their situation, especially off of sort of the back of the pandemic, where there's a lot of anxiety and things like that. It's really nice to hear that I'm almost providing a bit of a safe space for the young people. So I think overall that's probably the highlight of my role.
James, it's been such a pleasure, and I tell you what, when you get back home today, you can add to your CV that you've spoken brilliantly and communicated fantastically to over 100 major employers and a government minister as well. So well done you, and thank you.
Thank you, Will. Thanks.
Terrific.
Thanks,
Well, that's
James.
a perfect segue. Mims, I'm going to hand over to you now.
Thank you, Will, and thank you, James. And what an accolade! And you know, you make your luck, but clearly that's a chap who's going far. So thank you very much, James, for the presentation, and we wish you all really good luck for the future. Thank you, Will, for inviting me to join you this morning to talk about Kickstart. Where we've started with it, where we're hoping to go. And My Kind of Future is a really important partner for us at DWP, working with our work coaches. And it was lovely to hear about Zach, one of our work coaches, and how much he'd been able to help James. And it's that invaluable support for our young people participating on Kickstart through the opportunities that it gives with the mentoring, with the confidence, with the opportunities and everything that we heard from James this morning. And we just know how much mentoring makes the difference. And in fact, we have mentoring circles at DWP. We're looking at 50 plus mentoring circles as well. It's so important, and I'll come on to a little bit more of that later in my remarks. But I think the connector really complements with what Kickstart is offering, that expertise from mentors, the broad range of sectors, the fact that it's there all the time. You know, you're not always needing support at 9 to 5, and the fact that it's there as you go through the process, and longer term you've got someone there once you're into that role, and then you're wondering what's next. So thank you, Will. What a brilliant platform, and brilliant that it's linking in with us at DWP. And I love the way that you're explaining local labour markets and local knowledge, and what the difference it can make with all partners and all understanding about what's going on the ground to make the changes. And that's, you know, something that we're, you know, really keen to do at DWP. We've probably got the biggest reach into communities that central government has anywhere, with over 630 job centres, 80 more coming, and further to coming after that because of the impact of the pandemic. And that gives us a real understanding about what's going on in the labour market, who we can outreach with, who we can work, and how we can pool resources to support people at any stage of their work journey. So I'm so pleased to see so many employers who have been keen to hear more about Kickstart and are interested in making the difference to our young people and change their life's chances. It's been a year and a half of real difficulties for many people. And what we don't want is, you know, the quote pandemic generation. We want our young people to have the life chances that we had. We want to make sure that the effects of any long-term scarring is mitigated. Let me just quickly talk about the scheme. So last summer in July, the Chancellor announced a plan for jobs. By September, we had pulled together the Kickstart scheme. It's a £2 billion fund to create hundreds of thousands of high quality 6 months placements for those most at risk of long-term unemployment under the age of 25, and those people on UC, such as we heard. And many young people and many people have come into the hands of DWP and been on UC from sectors who just never expected to be there. And the scheme is there to support young people to get that first foot on the employment ladder, and the government subsidising those additional job roles. And the key part of the scheme is what we call employability support, and you heard it there from James. So we really want at the end of the placement that the young people have acquired those key work skills, that they're in a completely different place, better place to really know and understand their future job prospects, maybe, you know, carry on with that employer, but maybe really know what they want to go and what direction they want to take next. And the Connective platform is able to really enhance this support, providing mentors to young people all the way through the Kickstart journey on onto that next page of employment. Now, employers can continue to apply for the placements through till December this year. So I know some areas and sectors are only just restarting and are only really just starting to move into recovery, and perhaps not even had to be able to open up as yet. So you're not going to miss out on helping people. And I know that some sectors are really expecting, already seeing growth. So the final placements in this current part of Kickstart, and many people ask me about what the future looks like, but we've got an important process to be focused on at the moment. You could be starting in December and not concluding that placement through till next summer. And it's a really great opportunity to bring additional young people, new jobs into your business, bring in young people, those fresh ideas, those fresh eyes, to give them not only the chance to build experience and skills and enhance their career prospects, but start to see things differently from what you do. And I was talking to the Port of London Authority just on Monday about what benefit had been to them of bringing these young people on, people who never normally see, whose CV would never even get through, and just how invigorating it had been. And I've spoken to Talk, who've done an amazing job bringing people in, and they've just said it's been marvellous. It's, you know, that they've got people fighting over who has the new Kickstarters, because it's really invigorated the teams. I don't think quite physically, but you know what I'm saying. So we know there's real challenges to overcome over the next few weeks and months, and we know the Kickstart scheme can offer real key support to young people and really build confidence. And if I had a penny for the word I hear confidence in this job as Employment Minister, then I'd be doing pretty well. It really does make a difference, and it's Kickstart is going to be key to our roadmap as we open up and make sure that young people get the opportunities. And what's been phenomenal is we've only been open for bids since November, first placements starting in December, but to date we have created and approved, with employers' help, 195,000 jobs. We've got around 20,000 young people now started in jobs, even with the tiers and the lockdowns and the other things going on, and we're actively moving young people into work. And on average over the last 6 weeks we've been having around 250 young people starting in new jobs to date, and every day. And it's been amazing. They are in things like Cornish crafts. As I said, the Port Authority, you can work in a chocolate factory, you can work with llamas, you can work in aerospace, digital marketing, care, as we heard in schools. The breadth of opportunities and the chance for people to renew and reinvigorate their workforce, people are really seeing. We're listening to employers all the time to make improvements and get people started and placing quicker. And although we've heard a really important case study earlier with My Kind of Future and Kickstart, we're really, really keen to just get more opportunities. If you can imagine that, times the nearly 200,000, we need 250,000 roles. And of course, we heard from Will about the challenge that we have. So it's really important to know that if you think you can give a young person an opportunity, please do. And if we continue to work together over the coming months, it's going to make a big difference. And I'll just close with these remarks. I know we've got some Q&A later, but think back to your first job, your first opportunity. Who gave you that opportunity? Who saw your potential? What were your barriers? And absolutely, what didn't you know? How green were you? Was it somebody at school that put you on the right path, or was it that first job role? So think back to where you were, and I'm sure there wasn't a pandemic backdrop to worry about as well. So if you can come forward to give young people opportunities, confidence, and above all, on-the-job learning and long-term outcomes, we need you. We can't do this on our own as a government. We need employers, local labour markets, DWP, and our job centre pluses, and everyone to work together, and we can really change how this future looks for people post-pandemic, particularly our young people. So back to you, Will, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mims. That was absolutely fantastic, and I couldn't agree with you more. And the number of times that I speak to employers, and yes, they represent a big firm or a big company, but actually they have a very personal connection with either their own journey or a friend or a relative, and can relate exactly to what young people are going through right now. And I know we're going to hear from Ian a little bit later and Brian. I would really ask now, if you have questions for Mims, then please pop them in the chat. My colleague Hannah is going to pull out themes and ask some questions. But whilst you're doing that, Mims, I've got a couple of questions, or I've got one question, and then actually we received some questions from employers in advance of this. So if you could just spend, perhaps 30 seconds or a minute on each one. Mims, what do you envisage good quality employment support to look like?
That's the good old unmute here. I actually really think it comes down to the employer and the individual. It can be support with basic maths and English. It can be, as we heard from James earlier, about those safeguarding courses, certificates. It could be kind of digital training or anything really, whatever works for you and for the young people. And so we're not overly prescriptive about it. So we don't want to exclude employers about it. So it really comes down to what you think between that young person, the work coach, and your business. And above all, if it's giving that young person the chance to progress, learn more, and take something onto the next stage, and it works for them, that's all we want. It might be, when you have a look at the Kickstart website, looks complicated and difficult. How do you explain it? But I think in simple terms, that's what we want.
And you know what, that makes so much just logical, good sense. All of those different roles, whether you said llama farming or you're a scientist, it's just what's relevant and what's needed in that setting. Thank you, Mims. The next question, which did come from several employers in advance of this, is could you just briefly tell us how Kickstart and the apprenticeship scheme work together?
Yeah, well, they work together exactly how you want them to. And we're not prescriptive about what the outcome is for a young person. So it could be a traineeship, an apprenticeship. It could be that they go on to further study. It could be that they continue with you in a full-time role, and some people have already done that. And it could dovetail brilliantly into an apprenticeship, because many of these under 25s on universal credit, and don't forget, you could be 16 and a care leaver and on UC. So actually going on to apprenticeship could be life-changing for you once you've got that really great springboard of Kickstart. So it's the element of on-the-job training and the confidence and the network and everything that Kickstart gives you, and then the ability to build that through on apprenticeships. So we're not trying to cannibalize apprenticeships, and I know many of our sectors and areas do them brilliantly. We want them to complement each other, and if it's actually, you can only do one Kickstarter, but you can carry on with your apprenticeships, that's fine. Every single number and opportunity counts. If you can help it funnel through, and I know certainly in the West Midlands, doing this really strongly, working with the local mayor as well, to really help people to funnel as many people into apprenticeships as possible. And certainly some of our amazing gateways that we've got, and they've been brilliant, from the FSB to the Chambers of Commerce to umbrella bodies for sectors who know that they need more people. This Kickstart opportunity is really creating those longer term apprenticeships and reaching out to more people who normally not have enough skills to get onto a traineeship or an apprenticeship. So for me, it's absolutely funneling young people in the right direction, the right outcome for them and for you.
Love it. And it is, as you say, a very natural progression, dovetailing perfectly. Minister Mims, you've kind of touched on this, but it was a theme that came through, and that was at the beginning of the year, there have been some delays in the application process. Are you happy just to say a few words on that?
I'll be really honest, Will. Last summer, we stood up the plan for jobs, which includes the restart scheme, which starts this summer, JETS, JFS, doubling our number of work coaches, opening new job centres, dealing with what was a jobs miracle to the handbrake on the economy, and a big focus at DWP. And we reinvigorated the Future Jobs Fund. What we did is we looked at what didn't work before, and we wanted also more employers and private sector involved. And this time we've got it in spades, alongside charities and other great organisations, local authorities, etc. And if I'm honest, I think we had a deluge of people all coming at once. Also, as well, kind of used to applying for something from the government and it just arrives. Now, the difference with Kickstart is your young person doesn't just arrive. It's got to be you working with the work coach, working with the young person and making sure that that young person coming into your business works. So I think it was a kind of embarrassment of riches in some ways. You know, we literally had hundreds of thousands of people coming through with great applications, some complete rubbish and fraudulent and inappropriate. And we had to just go through it and pick out the best stuff and make it work. We have put huge resource into this. And of course, we, you know, thought this would sort of slowly build up, but we had this amazing deluge. For those people that have stuck with us and recognise it's been a little bit of a slow start for some people, they've got their Kickstarters. And my messages have gone from, where are my Kickstarters, to I've got them, I love them, I want more, please, you know, please can we get more opportunities? So bear with us. We've got really strong local teams on the ground working directly with employers, working with our gateways as well. If you think about it, we've got over 900 gateways. So we've gone from, you know, naught to full throttle because employers have wanted to give back to young people and we've had to process that through. And I guess we kind of, within the first, you know, month to 6 weeks, had the amount of applications we were expecting within sort of 3 to 6 months. So it's been a great but challenging start. We're now turning those approved job roles, there's nearly 200,000 job roles, into starts and more, please. So you should find it a pretty fluid process. We've been listening and learning along the way, and thank you everyone who's stuck with us and fed back.
Thank you, Mims. I know our Kickstart person started with us this week, so that is an exciting thing for us. And just working with the amazing team in DWP and job centres, people like Brian who are on the ground. I've had a kind of sense of the amount of change and the size of the new team, doubling of team, all coming in a space of just a few months. It's been remarkable. And there are some real superstars in DWP, some real terrific people who are working tirelessly to make this happen.
Thank you, Will. Just gives me 1 second to just, it was very remiss of me to say I'm so proud of our DWP staff. They're going through a massive change from, you know, last Easter, everybody processing UC claims, 27,000 hours extra worked on the Easter bank holiday weekend to get people paid and supported. So all of the things you've just described, and we've got a big job to do now. So we're really grateful to them, and I'm so proud to be a minister at DWP. They are totally the unsung heroes of jobs community progression.
Good job, Mims. Listen, we're tight on time, but Hannah, we've probably got a chance for a question or two, but I just want to reassure everyone today that we will get to every single question that you post in the chat, and we will reply, and Mims's team will reply to you personally. So Hannah, have we got a couple of questions there?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Will. Yeah, we've had quite a few come in, so we will follow up directly. But one of them being, how can SMEs best get involved in the Kickstart scheme? Sometimes internal priorities and lack of HR capacity can get in the way for smaller companies.
Yeah, absolutely, Hannah. So we've got a couple of gateways which work directly with the PAYE process, for example, for small sole traders, and directly to help with SMEs. And we've got our KDAMs, our Kickstart linkages down at the job centres, linking into the local economy. If you're having any problems getting hold of anyone, you can come via my office, and we've got a big team linking up on this. So if you've had any problems getting through, obviously we've been pivoting also from working open on an emergency basis for the most vulnerable to everybody working at home to everyone coming back in. So it's been a massive change for ourselves. So we may have some people slipping through the net, but we've got gateways and local support so that if you want to give one Kickstart role, we can make sure that happens for you, working with our local JCP teams.
Great, thank you so much, Mims. And I think we have time for one more. So does Kickstart support under 24-year-olds who are coming out of the university this year with a degree?
Yeah, it does. So this is all about the right role for the right young person in the right sector. And I'm very conscious of not just making sure that the kind of bright, shiny grads rise to the top and get the best opportunities. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody has to be tailored to the individual employer, to the sector, and to the opportunity. Some employers will be much more geared to work with people with more challenges. That 16-year-old on universal credit leaving care. Not every employer will be. So there's a balance here that we need to strike. And this won't be a successful programme if only grads have gone through and been successful. So for us, it's about making sure that those with the broadest barriers and the biggest barriers get the opportunity. And this gives me, kindly, Hannah, one final comment, which I think is really important to make. Be realistic about your Kickstarters. So if you're 16 and on UC, if they've got help that they need on maths and English, digital skills, etc., work skills, turning up on time, all of that things, things that we would see as very simple and easy to do. If you've come from a chaotic or a difficult lifestyle, if you haven't had the educational experience, this can be a lifeline for you to get onto the next stage and do some more training and learning. So be realistic about the type of person you can take on. If you can take on people with the biggest amounts of barriers and challenges, we do have lots of programs to get people more work ready, not only the grads. So, let's work together to make sure that we're reaching out as broadly as possible and absolutely making sure it's not the shiny grads that only benefit. Having said that, some people could have graduated and been 18 months unemployed. That can be as soul destroying. So it's all about individuals, local place, and working with work coaches and our employers. And hopefully everybody gets the best outcomes possible.
Thank you, Mims, and thank you, Hannah. And I really would echo Mims's sentiment there. This is a massive challenge, having massive impact with young people, and no single stakeholder, including government, can do everything and has all of the answers. It's about everyone playing their part. Yes, government, of course, Job Centre and those amazing people on the ground, but as employers, as local authorities, as stakeholders and individuals, we're pulling together, and the difference we're having is significant. Thank you, Minister. I am now going to, before I do that, as I said, if you have questions, I know I can see lots and lots in the chat. Mims and her team will get back to you on an individual basis. From a GDPR perspective, if you do not wish us, My Kind of Future, our event, to share your contact detail with Mims and her team, then please do make that clear in the chat. Otherwise, we'll follow up with you after the event. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Mims. Ian from KPMG, I'm going to come to you now. Let me just say a very brief few words. KPMG are terrific supporters of our mentoring platform. They've helped us launch this week into Rochdale and very soon into Wolverhampton and beyond. KPMG, we know personally as an amazing team of people. And Ian has a real vested interest in a personal perspective. He has children who are approaching the world of work. He is a governor at a state secondary school in a disadvantaged area and personally cares about young people and their future success. So welcome, Ian. Thank you. I've got a few questions that I think we could just run through if you're happy. First of all, to KPMG, and feel free to talk about your own motivations as well, but from a KPMG perspective, what drives your KPMG's commitment to support those young people whose employment opportunities have been affected by COVID and the poor economy?
Absolutely. So we're absolutely committed, and we know that if our communities that we all live in are succeeding, then we succeed as well. So we're entwined. So we have decided, and for the 25 years I've been at KPMG, that the most effective way that we can do that is to look to improve social mobility in disadvantaged areas that we work in those communities. So we do that, and we specifically focus on developing essential skills, so life skills, employment skills, and numeracy skills in those disadvantaged areas using a number of programs that we've delivered. I'll just touch on a couple of those. One's called the Work Ready. So we work with 14 to 16-year-olds in schools across those disadvantaged areas to get those 14 to 16-year-olds who are pre-GCSE or just post-GCSE ready for the workplace. So mentoring, coaching, looking at CVs, looking at that journey into work. And the second one I've mentioned is National Numeracy Day. So we sponsor that with the charity that drives it. Looking at building essential numeracy skills with employers across the country. So I can't take the credit of the team. They do a fantastic job, have done a fantastic job, but we're expecting to have over 2,000 employers on the 19th of May who will be working with their staff to build confidence on basic numeracy skills. So you can see when we were invited to kind of participate in the mentoring, how closely aligned to this programme was work we've been doing in this space already. So communities, social mobility, and helping young people. And as you've illustrated, COVID-19 has disproportionately impacted that journey into work for 18 to 24-year-olds. And as you say, I have a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, and 19-year-old in full-time education at the moment, but on the cusp of making that journey into work. So personally, this is something that I think is massively important. So that's why KPMG are working in this space. And we'll talk about the mentoring scheme because I think that's important.
Yeah, do that, Ian. And I mean, it's a perfect segue. You are and your firm are amazing supporters of what you know now, but our ambition to roll out to every town, city, and community in the UK with our mentoring platform this year. But tell us a bit, you know, what it means to you and why you are supporting.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of mentoring, we're working with 3 job centres in 3 areas: Rochdale, Wolverhampton, and Poplar in East London. So using the Connector platform and with the job coaches in those job centres to refer people to our mentors. We've trained 28 mentors. We look to put 60 mentors in place by the summer. And our mentors are young people. They're passionately committed to doing coaching and mentoring with young people moving into the workplace. It works really flexibly for them. The feedback from us, from our mentors, is the flexibility allows them to kind of coach and to mentor when they can using this platform is a real benefit for them, given that they have jobs to deliver, they have work. So being able to pick up 15-minute conversation on the platform works really, really well for them. And so it's a real advantage. Our mentors, it's an opportunity for them to build their skills, empathy, listening, coaching, mentoring. So a fantastic opportunity for them personally. And, we know our staff join us knowing they want to do purposeful work. They want to put back into the communities. And we offer 6 days a year volunteering. And this is an excellent opportunity for them to do that. So we've been rushed off our feet with mentors, and I think any employer that's considering this or has similar workforce, I think it is a great vehicle to harness that sort of energy and that dynamism from your teams, from your people, etc.
Thanks, Ian. And that is, first of all, as a firm, 6 days volunteering is a significant amount actually, but I can really imagine right now people, your teams want to give back. They want to be proactive and do something, valuable with that volunteering time. So it's great to hear that it's landing really well internally. And I suppose that leads me on to my final question, and that is, none of us know how long the economy is going to be affected, and there are different views and different opinions, but I think as far as 18 to 24-year-olds, especially those with a disadvantaged background, the impact is going to be here for a while. How will you and how will KPMG support people as we start to emerge, or for the medium term as we start to emerge from the crisis?
Absolutely, we recognise it's a long-term challenge, and it is something that we, as I say, have been working on strategically with that programme of education and skills that will continue to deliver. So this is part of that, and our mentors are committed long term to supporting their mentees in that journey, in that Kickstart journey. But it is one part of that longer term programme, the national numeracy. I'm not sure how many years we've been doing that, but what we found is consistency and long-term investment in these things are the things that build momentum, that build kind of energy, etc. So we work long-term, and we associate the mentors and mentees together so that they can kind of build their CVs, build that journey to work, and stay in touch as careers progress and flourish, which is what we're looking to help people to do.
Thank you, Ian. Thanks for that brief insight. As I say, I'm hugely grateful for your support. And we know KPMG for many years, and fantastic work you do across the board. So thank you for that. I'm about to hand over to Brian. Before I do that, I'm just going to quickly get the slides back up. Brian, I know you've got some slides. Hannah, if you could let me know if you can see these slides, I'd be grateful.
Yeah, perfect. Slide 18 there.
There we go. So Brian, I'll just say a couple of words, if I may.
Yep.
You are an innovator. You work for the DWP. You're in charge of job centres in London and Essex. We met through your drive for looking at new ways to support the people who have been hardest hit. And you are one of a fantastic team. And through you, I've met people like Cameron King and Catherine Bedford, who are really inspirational and have supported us to have a fantastic pilot in your area, and now to expand more widely and nationally. So Brian, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Will, for that, and great to see on the chat some people I've worked with over a number of years, and actually it does all link together. We've had some great examples from KPMG where they've supported us with mentoring circles in the past and actually really changed their way to recruit. They actually identified people that weren't getting through their recruitment process and actually what do they need to do differently. So some really fantastic stuff. And going back, there were some names on there that I worked with back in 2011, 2012 on that great London 2012 Olympic program that we knew in East London was a catalyst as we were coming out of another downturn, that provided fantastic opportunities for young Londoners to actually access the world of work for the first time and really growing that. So yeah, and some of those apologies will be a little bit of a recap from some of the things the Minister Mims has said earlier on. What is Kickstart scheme? We know that we're prioritising young people aged between 16 and 24 who are on universal credit with support from their work coach. And again, the funding will be the relevant national minimum wage for 25 hours a week and the associated national insurance and employer auto enrollment contributions. So I think that's quite basic, and these slides are available on gov.uk. But I think if we move on to the next slide, Will, the key bit is getting into this, what we're looking for. Initially, we did have the process for being from employers had to be over 30. We've now revised that since February, and now employers of any size can actually bid. And we're seeing successes on this one as well. We've got access to opportunities unemployed people never had before. We fill vacancies with the Financial Times. We filled them with News UK. Similar to James' situation, we know of candidates who we've had Kickstart opportunities with Bloomberg, who've now been made permanent. And similar to that as well, we've had an antiques dealer, a small antiques dealer in Essex, whose Kickstarters actually put them online for the first time. And you know what? Their sales are going through the roof. They're actually increasing their business just by doing something in a little bit different. So again, it is that bit online, but we do have within the DWP network, a whole series of account managers locally in our districts and our job centres who can support you with that online application. It is that bit, you know, and we do have a piece on here as well. It is about empowering young people, but actually giving them to say, here's the opportunities, but you do actually need to apply. As we're reopening job centres, we're reopening face-to-face interviews with employers, we're seeing a massive how that really impacts, and actually that enables us to fill vacancies much more quickly. But we are seeing employers, when they actually speak to young people but they've received a CV, they can actually see something in a young person when they actually speak to them that doesn't become apparent on paper. You know, and I think that's key, is how we can look at doing that and making sure it's the best candidate. And the minister pointed out, you know what, this isn't about cherry picking the best people who would get jobs anyway. This is about that additionality, that employability. They're not the finished article, but you know what, we're paying you a subsidy for 6 months to make them the finished article. And that's where the My Kind of Future platform can actually support. It can help people at the beginning identify what sort of jobs they want to do. And you know what, young people always don't want to talk to their employer, they don't want to talk to the local authority, they don't want to talk to DWP. Having that independent person from another sector or another employer is a very useful sounding board, and the feedback we get is that's what young people want, especially from underrepresented and disadvantaged groups. We're doing some work on young black male unemployment in London, and that's apparent. They want mentors, they want to be able to talk to somebody, and it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who's a peer mentor who's been in the same situation as them. It's anybody who's willing to talk to them and actually help them. So yeah, we'll want to move on. And again, I'm really going to concentrate on the last bit here, but there is a little piece, you know, it is obviously a little bit about realism, making sure that the placements do not replace existing unplanned vacancies. And some employers are struggling with that understanding of that. We're recruiting, we're expanding. Well, that's natural, normal recruitment as businesses do. So the funding is there to create that additional role that would not exist without the funding. And again, the employability bit is extremely key. And there is a piece we're looking to do with a lot of organisations. I've had conversations recently with the Greater London Association, with GLA, also with big organisations like Clarion, who've got a massive gateway. But what we can do maybe at that 4-month stage of the placement to try and support people whose job might not be made permanent because the employer can't afford to, but actually how we can work with the employer and that individual to see if we can get them through with employability, getting through to actually get onto an apprenticeship. So making sure employers are aware that all these schemes can complement each other, and actually that the employability support will actually get people through that initial assessment, whether it's a level 2, level 3, level 4 apprenticeship to move forward. So very much about how we can do that, how we can pick up that because you know the main success of this program will be that these 250,000 placements, that they don't come back onto universal credit, that they actually secure ongoing employment, whether that's an apprenticeship, a job, or it's encouraged them to move into further or higher education to develop those skills further. So definitely, you know, we're here to speak. You know, we can pick up those questions, lots of questions in the chat, and we're definitely happy to pick up and really develop relationships, because we do need more vacancies. We do need to grow and provide a wide range of opportunities to our young people. And the feedback so far has been in the mainly positive, really positive. What young people, you know, the skills and the insights and the different way of looking at things they can bring to a business that some businesses haven't considered before. And it's a really great opportunity to get involved. We're here to support you. We can broker those links locally. We can work with you, whether it's a gateway organization or whether it's an employer directly. We've got systems in place now that have really developed, and we can really push forward on making sure we provide opportunities to young people. And I think that's probably it. Well, I think the last one was just my contact details, but happy for you to share my contact details with people, as well as the generic inbox if needed.
Thank you, Brian. Well, that was a whistle-stop tour, and as I say, you
conscious that you gave me a time limit.
You're a hero. You really are. So thank you for that, Brian. I really appreciate it. And as I say, you do a fantastic job, and you and your colleagues work tirelessly. And so people on this call then do either drop a message into the chat or get in touch with Brian directly. We have an opportunity before we close. We're running to time, but we do have a few minutes for general questions and answers. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Hannah. I can see that we have been inundated with questions, and as I say, we will get to them all and we'll reply to you personally. Hannah, are there any that you would like to pick out now?
Yes, we do have an awful lot to get through, but just having a look at picking out key themes here, Will, and this may be one for Mims or Brian. What is the current lead time for Kickstart applications to receiving the result of applications?
Brian, and then I can add to what you say.
Yeah, so at the moment we're working to 28 days from receipt of application, but there are times we do need to go out and ask for more information, and that's mainly around the employability and the additional support, which can delay things. Also, all employers, we do submit a financial spotlight check, so we do check company's house, we do check accounts, we do check all of that as well to ensure that, you know, we're not putting somebody into a placement where the business is in serious risk of actually not lasting the 6 months, because obviously we want to ensure that. So there are some financial checks, and that is dependent on obviously employers. I mean, no, they've had extensions from HMRC, but that doesn't work when you're applying for government funding. You still need to ensure you've got all your accounts up to date and actually filed, but we do check all that information. But 28 days is what we're working to. We are around that a little bit earlier. I think it's something like 22 days was I was told last week was what it really is, but there will always be some we'll need to go out and ask for more information.
Yeah, just quickly to add to that, we're trying to turn around once the job descriptions are up quicker. That can be up to sort of 3 or 4 weeks, and where it's needed, and we've got the young people, we're getting those employers and the young people together soonest, so we are able to do that. But as Brian said, you know, we've got taxpayers' money and safeguarding issues to think about here. It's not just like another scheme from the government where you just apply and it magically all happens. We really need the employer to be engaging with the work coach, to be engaging with what we need and they need, so that we get the best outcome. Because as Brian said, it's not only about getting the young person on the Kickstart placement, it's about the next stage of the outcome as well. And of course, we're managing all of that through. So I'd say to people, if you're getting up and running now and recovery is on its way, start thinking about it now, because it's not an instant process. You know, we're trying to refine it and bring it in as quickly as possible, but you know, you need a few weeks into you know, a little bit of time. So and obviously you can get those placements up till December. So, you know, start the process, and then once it's all agreed, negotiate your start and your time with the young person, but don't hold back from the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mims. Thank you, Brian. We are coming to time, so I am just going to bring us together in this last minute and echo what Mims said. Take an action. You know, now is the moment to lean in and be part of the future for young people. If you are an employer who would benefit from a Kickstart program, from that amazing energy of young people, then as Mims said, get that process started now. If you are an employer who, for whatever reason, perhaps a different industry, simply Kickstart is not quite a fit, well, do you know what? You can still be part of the solution by providing mentors to support those young people, even if you're not going to take them on as a Kickstart program. So get in touch and join those amazing companies like Accenture, Cisco, Grant Thornton, KPMG, Clyde & Co, and the many others. And if you are a local authority who would like the mentoring program to support your whole community, as Bradford and Blackpool are, then again, get in touch. So I have thoroughly enjoyed today. I hope you found it both informative and uplifting. I'd like to say a massive thank you to James. James, you are a hero and you really brought it to life for us. Ian, thank you for your great support and KPMG support. To Brian, of course, and your team, amazing team, and Mims, hugely grateful for your support now, but also the support that I know you are going to give in the months ahead. And thank you for working so tirelessly with that. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.